if I had to choose 5 exercises for the shoulder, this is what I'd do. Before we begin this brand new series I'll be doing it for most muscle groups in the body, starting at the shoulders, working the way down. Let's begin. First one, obviously, we can't go past hanging. I've spoken about this in most videos and it's probably sound like a broken record, but hanging is one of the best things you can do to just, not even to just strengthen the shoulders, but to actually get that mobility going, get it loosened up, get it warmed up, and get that full range of motion. The entire spine just unfuses. We have, so many moments in our lives where we're so hunched over and so confined, but hanging, I've said this so many times in most videos, but it is so incredible, and I cannot stress this enough how highly I recommend it. So the very first exercise for the shoulder, hanging for sure. So the next 3 I'm going to show you are all band work exercises. So we just need 2 different strengths, one that's pretty light and one that's a bit more resistance. We're going to tie one on. Okay, we're going to work the external rotators of the shoulder, the internal rotators, and the abductors. Okay, they're 3 important muscles. All right, we're going to start with the infraspinatus, okay, which is the external rotator. What you do is you can either do it in a very safe position. So if you've had shoulder injuries or very tight shoulders, you can keep it really safe and tucked in. And what you do, you just twist the arm out, and this works the infraspinatus muscle, the external rotator. As humans, it's easier to internally rotate the shoulder, so it can be too easy if you just use a very light band. So to internal rotation, I like to use a bit of a heavier band for the subscapularis. And again, same sort of motion, you can twist the arm in to internally rotate the shoulder. To level up from this motion, but also the infraspinatus, okay, 2 different modes here. We have one, you can bring it in, instead of being here, you can bring it out here, level your arm and bring it back out too. This works the exact same muscle. As for the internal rotators, what you can do is go from behind, and drop the arm down. So finally, the supraspinatus muscle, the shoulder abductor. I usually go for the very light band for this one because it can be quite vulnerable when it gets out too far. So you go quite light resistance. In chiropractic, we call it the empty can test. So you actually pretend you're pouring out a can of soft drink or beer just on the ground. That's how you hold the band. So you pour it out and then lift it up into abduction. Don't go directly in front. That's the shoulder abduction, which is the supraspinatus muscle. So just running back through quickly, the external rotators, I like to keep that light band going just to keep that shoulder nice and stable. For the internal rotators, so nice and tucked away, we go for that thicker band. That trio is probably the best trio that I've found with shoulder work, and I've seen the best results from it. Obviously, there's a million different things you can do with shoulder bands, but those are the best 3 that I've found. Finally, the last shoulder exercise that I think is incredible as well. You lie supine, so lying on the ground, and you find, whether it's a long wooden pole or a wooden stick, you can even use a very narrow foam roller, which is what I do, and I'll show you now. So you lie on the ground, okay, you get the foam roller. This is going to test the actual shoulder flexion in full range of motion. So you lie down, get the foam roller here, and just slowly lower it. And the aim is to get it to full range of motion by touching the ground. Yep. You lift it back up and back down again. Usually, if it's a very unstable shoulder, it'll get stuck around here. But if you can go the whole way, that's a really good sign. And back up. The 2 things that can really put stress on the shoulder joint I've found is overhead press, but also pull-ups as well. So those 2 things, if you have a very stable shoulder joint and you've done all of this work prior to it, it can be okay for sure. So the pull-ups and the overhead pressing, if you have a very weak shoulder joint and prior history with dislocations, etc., it can aggravate the joint and actually not be quite beneficial for it at all. It can lead to more issues down the road. So you want to make sure that your shoulder joint is really stable and really firm and strong before you go into that stuff. But overall, the shoulder joint is a very mobile joint, and because of that, it needs to be stabilized quite regularly, especially with prior history to injuries and dislocations. But those 5 exercises are by far the ones that I've seen the most results from, especially from my shoulder injuries that I've come back from with these same exercises.